South Africa take on New Zealand in a two-match test series. Looking forward to it, of course. All South Africans are. I think the only thing that we maybe not looking forward to is getting up early in the morning to obviously watch this test match. But other than that, I think we are anticipating a good series. I'm anticipating a series that's going to be very closely contested and not much in it. It's going to be up to small margins. From what we've seen recently in the media and the news, from what the conditions are going to be like and what the record is between South Africa and New Zealand, and looking at all of those history and that stats, we're going to be digging into it a little bit. We're going to be chatting about the test series, talking about the squads, who we'd like to see in it, who are the players that we think are going to be selected in this particular team from a South African perspective. And we'll also delve in a little bit into the New Zealand squad and talk about how they pose a threat to South Africa, which they obviously will. The Test champions they're not Test champions for no reason. So we're going to be chatting about all of that on today's show. This is obviously a preview for the first test that will be in Christchurch, that will kick off this evening or in the early hours of tomorrow morning. So let's get into it. Let's get straight into this particular show. If you're new to this channel, don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to click that notification bell for all future videos. But also don't forget to subscribe to Cricket Fanatics Magazine monthly. Every issue is 100% free, straight to your inbox every single month. The link is on the screen or in the description. Smash the like button, comment, and share with all your friends and family. Let's get straight into today's video. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Cricket Fanatics Magazine. This is your preview show. I'm your host, Khalid. It's my co-host, Aditya, my co-host, Abai, and my co-host, Malcolm Nuffel, that is joining us today. Welcome to the show, everybody. Hope you guys are going to enjoy this, of course. I want to start off first and foremost. Let's start talking about New Zealand conditions, because, Malcolm, I might as well start with you. You'll be able to give maybe a more of a professional insight into it. From what we got from Rassie van der Dussen in his pre-match or press conference or whatever he did, he said the wickets are looking very green and very grassy, but the surface underneath is quite hard, so it makes it quite consistent in terms of bounce and pace. This is his assessment of it so far. What do you know? What have you heard about, particularly the conditions at Christchurch?
Yeah, guys, I just want to say firstly, thanks for allowing me to be on the show. Look, I've actually played a little bit of cricket at Hagley Oval, like over my time while I was in New Zealand, and it is normally quite green over there, but it is quite hard at the same time. So I think the seamers are probably going to pose the largest threat there. I'm not sure if it turns too much at Hagley, so that'll be quite interesting as well. I think Keshav Maharaj has obviously played extremely well over New Zealand in the past and in previous times, so I think he'll probably be the guy, I suppose, in that team. But like I said, I don't think there's going to be too much spin there. It's, in all fairness, I think it's going to be very interesting with those quick seamers around, with Sean Jamieson, Marco Jansen. All those guys are going to play a massive part, I reckon. So I think it's going to be a fascinating test match, to be honest.
From your experience, obviously being there, what sort of innings does it take for a batter over there? It's very difficult to assess it, but if we had to just make an assumption of what sort of batting does well at that particular strips, because I mean, we saw in South Africa how we needed to change the way we bat over the years. The pitches have been quite different, the conditions have been quite different. So when it comes to batting, particularly at the Hagley Oval, what can you give us from an insightful perspective as a batter? How should they approach it, would you say?
Yeah, it's quite interesting. I think in the past and things like that, in all fairness, I don't think there's any science to it. I think that first hour of play is obviously crucial for any team coming into bat. But I think after that, and I'm sure it will slightly, I suppose, ease up. In terms of partnerships, that's always crucial as well. Like, I think it's all the cliche stuff I'm kind of talking about, but I mean, I think that's extremely true. In terms of the field of Hagley, it's not a massive field. It's not a small field. It's just it's a proper oval. I actually think there's one side that's slightly shorter it obviously depends on what strip they play on. But yeah, like I said, I think it's just trying to occupy that crease, trying to see off that new ball, and try to capitalize when those scoring options are available.
Now, Ditya, we know we're going to be speaking about it probably a lot on this show. Some of the key people or key batters in the South African setup. We know one of them, particularly that he's been very good against him in the past, and we looking to obviously trust him again in the series, and that's Aiden Markram. He's been struggling with his form recently, so I think it's a good opportunity for us to chat about him, and let's talk about him because when we look at the stats currently, obviously we look at his performance against India. It was 6 innings against India, only 76 runs at an average of 12.66, which means he now averages 26.47 in his last 19 tests for South Africa, which is not an indication of the talent that we are talking about here. So, how big of a series is this for Aiden from your perspective? And what do you feel he needs to do to maybe, turn things around for himself?
It's obviously it's a massive series for Aiden, as it is for the rest of the team, because uh, Dean Elgar said that he would like South Africa to build on the sort of platform that they've created in the last two series wins against the West Indies and India, and certainly this is an opportunity for them to test themselves against a team that is very strong in their backyard. So I suppose for Aiden Markram, it would be uh, to score freely, but perhaps be a little more disciplined in the way that he plays outside his off stump. I think that's key for any player in New Zealand, because these guys are bang on. For 90 overs in a day, Kyle Jameson, Tim Southey, Neil Wagner, they don't give you any easy stuff. So I suppose shot selection, being disciplined outside the off stump would be important for Aiden Markham. But I think generally as a team, as Elka has mentioned previously, that in a two-match series they need to start strong, because if you go down in that first Test match, then there isn't much of an opportunity to come back and win the series.
And about we hearing through the grapevine that obviously Evia might be the one that gets the nod over Rickleton, over Hamza, in KP's position at number 3, perhaps. There is also another option where some players also might actually favor this, is moving Aiden down to 4 and then having a new Asaro come in as an opener instead. What are your takes on that, and what's your thoughts on that? Are you in the Hamza camp? Are you in the Rickleton camp? Are you in the Evia camp? What camp are you sitting in currently for that number 3 spot that KP is going to leave vacant?
Hi guys. Yeah, this is a pretty interesting question. But at the same time, I don't mind rolling with it either way. I think there's fair reason to pick any of the three. Um, I guess when it comes to Aiden Markram and his dismissals, I don't think. Well, some may disagree with this, but if he bats like at number 4 and he gets out the same way, it kind of goes to show that batting positions aren't quite. Aren't quite, should I say, effective when it comes to ironing out technical flaws, because I believe in the third test against India, he tried to change things up, maybe take a middle stump guard, and by the time the second innings began, he was looking totally confused at the crease. When it comes to the number 3, I don't mind it if they go with Sarel. He's proven himself well domestically, and I guess it's kind of going with the trend, picking guys with more experience. I mean, I do understand that Ryan Rickleton has been tremendous this season, but at the same time, I guess this was already pre-decided, and let's see how he goes. I mean, it should be exciting.
Mm. So I'm going to put up the squad on the screen here, Malcolm, and I want your assessment of it as well. Let's we can also talk about the bowlers, because I think South Africa are going to have a headache when it comes to picking their bowlers as well, who they're going to go with, which combinations, etc. So this is the squad that is available. We've spoken quite in depth about the batters over here. Let's just start with first and foremost the batters. Who do you think these conditions should favor from a batting perspective?
Yeah, look, guys, I think it's a tough one, isn't it? I mean, if you look at that team that played against India, it was a massive series win that, and all the players that played there obviously put their hands up. So like, it's a really tough one. Like I do really like Ryan Rickleton. I'm a big fan of Ryan Rickleton. He's absolutely dominated first class cricket time and time again. So I'd love to see him in the mix. I'm not too sure if that's going to happen. And to be honest, like all the other guys in the mix as well, like Evia has also been doing extremely well. I think he's going to actually hit the nod to probably open. So I think either way, with the team that they go for, there are players there that are world class, and I think they can compete anywhere around the world, to be honest. So, yeah.
I mean, I think the bowling side is probably going to excite people the most. So we're looking at
Yeah.
Lungi Ngidi, Duan Olafir. Now, Duan, there's a lot of assessment and conversations about and arguments. I wouldn't say arguments, but more friendly debates about Duan Olafir, because some of us thought we're getting a different one that we got. The pace is significantly slower when it comes to Duan Olafir and what we saw in the past. But we've got KG Rabada, Luther Sapamla, and Clinton Stearman as well. It's very like a lot. I think from a fan perspective, not a lot of guys would actually want a spinner in the team. They prefer it probably because we've got Marco Janssen there as well. As an all-rounder, Vian Mulder is another option as well. So when you're looking at all of these players, it looks like we should be, well, from what we've heard, trust more seamers in the side than have a spinner. But in the past, we've heard Mark Boucher speak about him liking a spinner in his team, and whether it's good for spin conditions or not, he just wants that option available. Can you understand that thought process, or do you?
Yeah,
if you were captain or selector, would you just go
no,
all
100%.
seam out?
Like I do feel quite strongly always having a spin in your team. I'm not trying to be biased because I am a spinner, but I mean, it's just nice to have those options, I guess. Like it's nice to have that option in your armory. If your seamers aren't going too well on a friendly wicket for the seamers, then I suppose you could always turn to a spinner and just see how he goes. I think it's nice to have those options, but I actually wouldn't be surprised if they go all seam attack and like an I don't know, like an all-rounder in there playing a part as well. But I mean, I don't know, like in my mind, I would like a spin in the team. I suppose another topic as well, Simon Harmer. I mean, he's cleaned up county cricket for seasons and seasons. I don't think he will start. I think that's just my honest opinion. I think Hish has proved himself time and time again. He's a world-class spinner. So I'm not too sure. If I was a selector, I would have a spinner, just in case.
Now, Ditya, this is obviously a debate we're all going to be having for quite some time. I mean, I'm a guy that believes that maybe we should be brave and try it out. Go with all the seamers. But I understand the viewpoint of that Malcolm's given us about having that option. So, Aditya, I want to ask you, when it comes to, if that is the case, who do you drop from a seamer perspective? Because you're going to have to leave one of those guys out.
That's $1 million question, and I'm glad I'm not the one making those decisions.
Just asking all the $1 million questions today.
Look, it's a tough one. Given that Keshav has done well in New Zealand in the past, I think it would be very tough to drop him for this series. For an all seamer attack, and I just saw a stat earlier today, which showed that Shakib Al Hasan had a pretty good record in Christchurch, and I feel like Shane Warne's assessment of bowling on a seaming wicket is stuck with me, which he says if the ball is going to seam, it's going to spin, and I think that Keshav is good enough to take advantage of that. So I just from a variety perspective, it's a very difficult decision to not play such a world-class spinner, But so I personally feel like the way Boucher and Elgar think about Keshav and the use of spin through the course of a test match, they're probably going to have a harder time figuring out which seamers are going to play. Because we can talk about KG and Lungi and perhaps even Clinton Stearman, but I think one player who can be a handful in these wickets is Vian Mulder. New Zealand's wickets are exactly the sort that he would enjoy, and given how he's done in the West Indies, for example, it's his type of bowling that I think is likely to create problems for New Zealand.
I mean, Abai, I mean, we know that you're a fan of Kesh, but I mean, generally speaking, I mean, the last time we were in New Zealand, he was a big part of that victory, that 1-0 series win. Okay, yes, Rain also played its part. But when you look at Kesha Maharaj, he tends to be the type of bowler that can get results, even if the pitches are not conducive for him.
Yeah, if we go back to his Test debut, his first wicket was in Australia, and it was a big wicket of Steve Smith, believe it or not. But at the same time, I actually have a question for everyone here, because if we go back to the India series, there's lots of ongoing discussion about the balance of the team, especially with Marco Jansen batting at number 7, and most felt that it kind of compromised the batting depth. There were calls to add an extra batter on the third test, maybe give Ryan Rickleton a debut. But at the same time, it's this kind of catch-22, because if you end up not playing Maharaj, then you have an all-seam attack. It's too one-dimensional. But at the same time, you'll be able to accommodate the extra batter. But at the same time, if you stick with this current 11, you do have all bases covered when it comes to bowling. But at the same time, the batting seems a little bit light. So what would be the better course of action to take in this situation?
I'm going to add Werner to the stream as well. So welcome, Werner. Malcolm, do you want to answer that one first?
Not really. No, it's a tough question. No, I'm joking. Yeah, that's a serious question. That is a proper question. I think, look, I also like the idea. I don't know, I might be left side or I don't know, right side. But I really do like the idea of Glenton Stearman as well. I think he's capable of dominating in New Zealand. But I also think it's quite unlikely that he is going to play, to be honest. So I think to have Marco probably at 7 is a decent option. Like, he's very capable of holding a bat. I think we can qualify him as an all-rounder. Is he going to score you a massive 100, number 7? I suppose that's the massive question, I guess. But other than that, damn, man, it's so hard. I'm so glad I'm not a national selector, or even I'm still happy I'm just still a player, to be honest. But I mean, it's so tough to kind of I don't know, talk about who's going to play and who's not going to play, who's going to be your extra batter, who's going to be the spinner and stuff like that. So I think it's going to be very interesting. I'm going to wait until 11:30 this evening to kind of see what happens. But yeah, I think Marco Jansen, number 7, can do a job with the bat, and I'm just really excited to watch this bloody series. It's going to be good. I'm not sure if I answered your question, to be honest.
Can I just add one thing really quickly? I was looking at stats from the 2017 series, and one thing that really stands out, certainly in the way that spin was used, the series, was just the number of overs that Keshav Maharaj bowled. In one test match, in one innings, he actually bowled 50 overs in that third test match. Yeah. And through the course of that series, in every innings, he's bowled a minimum of 15 overs. Which tells you that using spin is quite an important factor. And I feel like in Dean Elgar's captaincy, he's still figuring out how to get the best out of Keshav. But if there's one way to really get him to succeed in New Zealand, is to give him a lot of overs to bowl, because the pitches might not turn, but he's good enough to be able to induce that false stroke.
Mm-hmm. I just want to say thank you, Tashrif, for the super sticker, and that means that I have to ask your question, and it is right down at the bottom here. So already said it's pure green track, so expecting to keep Kesha out and play extra batter. If they still select Kesha ahead of seam all-rounder or extra batter, we will be disappointed. Let's get your thoughts, Werner. I would love to hear what your thoughts are ahead of this test match.
Can you guys hear me fine?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I actually agree. I'd prefer us playing the extra batter. If we're going to use Kesh the same way we use him at Centurion and the Wanderers, then I'd rather us play the extra batter because we are. It still feels playing better like this at this stage. Our batting is still a bit suspect, even though we did manage to beat India. We still haven't really crossed the 300 mark in quite a while. So I would personally play the extra batter in Rickleton actually at 6, and then Verena 7 and Mark Janssen 8. That's the way I would go. If the pitch is as they say and it goes according to how the stats have been in the past, with spinners not really being effective there, then I'd say stick with your paces. I'd play Steerman ahead of Willie Feeder on that type of pitch. I think he could do a similar type of role that Vernon Flounder always did for us, just with a little bit extra pace. Maybe not quite as consistent as Flounder, but can move the ball around. So I think he would be a very good option there. I just remember Vernon running through the New Zealand lineup when we played there, and he was still bowling. So I think that would be a good option. I don't see them doing that. I expect Willifield to still play, and I'm not sure whether they will drop cash. Maybe if they do drop cash, they decide to bring in Vian Mulder in his place, which is definitely also an option.
Definitely an option. I'm looking at Agli Oval right now in the most wickets over there. Trent Boult with 53 in 9 matches. That's ridiculous. The Tim Southey, 9 matches, 43 wickets. We've got Neil Wagner over here, 8 matches, 28 wickets. And Jamison over here, 3 matches, 22 wickets. Colin de Granum, 5 matches, 14. And there's just some seamers over here, right down until I see Shakib Al Hassan over here with 1 match and 4 wickets. So it's pretty straightforward that's how things go. But South Africa haven't necessarily gone with what the status quo is. Basically, we've always gone with other decisions. So Abai, I want to get your thoughts on New Zealand now. Let's look at the squad and pick out some guys. I put what would be a probable 11 for New Zealand next to it as well. So you can just have a look at it, but we can change it however. I just put names down on the sheet. So this is what we're going to have from a New Zealand perspective. Key people missing, key players missing, particularly their captain, Kane Williamson. A massive loss. Trent Boult is going to be a massive loss too, as I said, the top wicket taker at this particular venue. And as well as they won't have Ross Taylor, who is someone that has played a hell of a lot of matches for New Zealand in the past and has been a key figure over there. There is a little stat that I got from Crick Info. Ross Taylor has retired. We know that. Where is the stat now that I'm looking for? I can just pick it up here. I had it now. It's disappeared. Hamilton only 4 members. New Zealand. I can't find it now, so I'll come back to it when I find it later on. But yeah, bye. Let's get your thoughts on New Zealand.
All right, so I think the 11 I see over here is most likely has the guys that they're going to play. They have I guess they have more of an advantage when it comes to batting depth, especially given Kyle Jamison's ability to hit it hard down the order. I feel like this pace attack, on paper at least, given the home advantage, the Kiwis seem to have a slight edge. I know some may disagree. But at the same time, I feel like the absence of Kane Williamson could play a big role, because had he been available, I probably would have said that New Zealand would have relatively more of an advantage. But his absence now kind of brings the contest more back in the balance, should I say?
Mm-hmm. Anybody want to jump in?
Yeah, like maybe just to touch on that New Zealand side. It's a world-class team. It's an absolute world-class team. I think, to be honest with you guys, to not have Kane Williamson in that team is a massive loss for New Zealand. He's a world-class player. He's probably one of the best in the world at the moment, and he has been for a long period of time. So I think they're going to be hurting slightly with that. But I think knowing those Kiwi men, they will come out fighting. And I mean, yeah, just to add on, I suppose in terms of the team attack, I think our seamers are slightly above, or like have a slightly larger edge on the Kiwi bowlers. My concern comes in is I think their top 4, top 5 are capable of scoring massive runs, including, I suppose, Mr. Conway over there. He's been on the form of his life, and he continues to produce game in and game out. So it's going to be very interesting to see him play against his, I suppose, his old country or his country of birth. But yeah, it's going to be bloody exciting.
And I mean, Werner, Aditya, any of you, do we, from a mental perspective, I don't think you tell your team to think about the fact that they're test champions. I mean, we just beat the number 1 team in the world. Now we're going and facing the number 2 team in the world. From a development perspective from the team, what would you like to see differently from what you've seen against India that you think that will obviously help us? You can go with Werner and then Aditya.
All right, we need to start strong. That's going to be important. We started very slowly against India in that first test at Centurion. We were very lackluster. It can also be because we didn't have a lot of test game time going into it. So I think we should be a lot better now, having fairly recently played against India in the test series. So it's going to be important to start from that first session. I think that's another thing we struggled with throughout that series, even though we did managed to win. I think we started every day a bit slowly. Only after the first hour we really started to get things going with the ball, especially. So I think it's going to be important we be on it right from ball 1. And I do agree. I think New Zealand's batting lineup is slightly stronger than ours at this stage, but I do feel we do have the bowlers to really exploit those conditions. And even though I did say I would prefer Stearman coming in, I think this pitch might suit Olivier as well, because it's a very wondrous type of wicket. It has bounce, it has good pace, and that even guys that don't have a lot of pace, we see him bowling at about 150 max these days. That sort of pace can really still be effective on this pitch if you can get some good bounce and still rush the batters a bit. So I think overall we have the right team to definitely compete in this series. I still back us to win it, but this first test is crucial, as Aditya said earlier as well. We can't go 1-0 down and there's no coming back and winning the series. So we have to be on it from ball 1, from the first session. We can't let New Zealand off to an easy start.
So I found that stat about Ross Taylor and Williamson. The last time New Zealand were without both Taylor and Williamson was in January 2008 against Bangladesh. They've played 117 tests since, so they are in a little bit of a transition themselves. And I think South Africa couldn't get them at a better time, Aditya.
Actually, it doesn't feel like much of a transition, because I think what New Zealand does really well is that they manage their players brilliantly. And you look at this squad, even without Kane Williamson. Devon Conway is already playing like he's played like 50 test matches. Will Young has come in, but we know that he's a supremely talented player. So, it doesn't feel like there's a massive hole in there. And I think New Zealand have never really they've never really played, in the aura of a superstar. You generally know that it's a collective effort and all 11 individuals are going to contribute in some way or the other. And I don't think that's going to change. That's going to change here. Personally, I think it's going to feel a bit weird that, I've grown up watching Ross Taylor bat, and, it's been a joy. So for him to not be there is going to be slightly strange. But in saying that, equally excited to see what Will Young brings to the table. Devon Conway, of course, is fantastic. And, Henry Nicol, Storm Latham, they're proven performers, so I don't think it's that much of a hole. New Zealand, in my view, probably manages its players the best compared to to other countries, because they have a smaller talent pool. Just 116 professional cricketers. So they have to nurture their players well, and they do. So it's fascinating. I love watching New Zealand.
All right, I'll go next. So, yeah, so it's been 5 years since New Zealand last hosted South Africa. So fans on both sides of the aisle are going to be on the edges of their seats, very excited to watch these two games. It's kind of good for me since I was staying up late, drinking coffee at 11 p.m. when South Africa were playing India, staying up until like 4 or 5 a.m. on a couple of occasions. But yeah, it starts at 2 p.m. over here in California. So the moment I get back home from work, I'm going to be sitting right in front of the TV, eagerly watching the action. Um, One thing I do want to add about New Zealand's batting, even though Kane Williamson is absent, you can't underestimate anyone, because we saw how Will Young and Tom Latham batted over in India in spin-friendly conditions. So this just goes to show that their adaptability is very good, and they're well prepared when it comes to the toughest of assignments in Test cricket. Um, yeah, but other than that, it was great to be part of this discussion. Looking forward to the rest of it. I'll be sure to listen to it around lunchtime. And take care, guys. Have a good one.
See you. We are wrapping up now
Sure.
soon, so bye. We will be wrapping up soon anyway. But it's
Okay.
fine. Thanks. Thank you for coming on the show. You can stick
Yeah, of
around a little
course.
bit. Thank you, Lorenzo Bailey, for the super chat. He says Kesh will bowl 1 over before lunch and tea. That's hashtag facts. so, I mean, you can understand it, about. Can you understand it, about why so much of the South African public want to just see a full prong seam attack, or all prong
Yeah, I
seam
can
attack?
understand that. I'm not sure if there was slight sarcasm in that, but no, it's Look, I can understand where we're coming from. I think we want to try blow them away with our pace attack. We've got the capabilities of blowing them away with KG Rabada. If his tail's up, he's extremely dangerous. Marco Janssen with that bounce as well. So yeah, I do understand where we are coming from. It's just I do like to add that spinning option, but yeah, it's like I said before, it's extremely exciting. I also think one thing I can just touch on with the New Zealand lads is that they're the nice guys of world cricket. They play really hard. I do know that, but they are one of the best. I don't know. I suppose the care factor comes into play a lot when I think about New Zealand cricket. They care for each other. They want to win together. And I also think they've just got all the right structures in place to be extremely successful, and that's why they are world champions at it. So I do hope that we can try hip them 2-0. It would be fantastic, but let's see, a few more hours.
There was some conversation, Werner, about like New Zealand and South Africa and the rivalry between the two countries. We obviously know the Springboks and the All Blacks and that tradition. So let's just get your final thoughts, Werner, on the rivalry between the two teams, what your predictions are. And Aditya, you can finish off.
Yeah, I don't know how much of a test rivalry it is because we don't play them often enough, but there is still that thing of them always beating us in knockout games in World Cups. So there's definitely some rivalry there, and we definitely want to get one up on New Zealand and keep our. I think the thing is they want to keep their record. Obviously, we want to be the one team that New Zealand hasn't beaten in the Test series. So they'll definitely want to continue that. As I said, we will have to start well, and obviously, in the end, you're just going to have to play better than the other team. It's as simple as that. You're going to have to bat better, bowl better, field better. As always, take your catches. All the basics. If we do the basics and do play better for longer than them, then we'll take the series. I have no doubt about that. So New Zealand are a strong team. I think it's going to be a very competitive series. I expect there to be a lot of ups and downs. Us being on top and then them being on top. So I think it should be a very exciting series to watch for those who can stay awake throughout. So let's see how it goes. I expect some fireworks. I expect some of our batters to please step up in this series. I think it's a good time. We've been a bit lackluster with the bat, apart from Keegan Peterson in that last series and Algar. I think the other guys really have the time to step up now. I think somebody like Rassi, Markram, both of them would really want to step up. But Vumao needs to continue with his good form and try and convert those pretty 50s he's making into 100s. I think if he can make 100 or two, it will make a big difference in this short series.
Yeah, South Africa and New Zealand. It's the making of just an electric test series, and I expect both teams to come hard. Um, New Zealand we know are always going to be unrelenting, and I'd expect nothing less from South Africa as well, because Dean Elgar is well aware of the fact that South Africa cannot afford to be slow starters. In a two-test series against New Zealand. So I'm sure that South Africa will come hard too. I agree with everything that Werner said, and certainly in the batting department, it would be great to see Timber convert those hard, tough 50s into match-winning 150s. Difficult though they are. But I also want to address Lorenzo's comment there about Keshav bowling one over before lunch and 1 over before tea, because I don't think that has anything to do with Keshav's skill. I think that's a product of the way that Keshav has been used, and that's something that develops over a period of time. Every captain uses spinners differently, and I think Dean Elgar is still learning how to use Keshav Maharaj in an effective manner. I think back to like non-subcontinent captains, because subcontinent captains typically use spinners a lot more than non-subcontinent captains. And I think back to Michael Clarke and Faf du Plessis in the way that they really got their spinners into play. And I think that's a skill that Dean Elgar will develop over a period of time. But yeah, I don't think the 1 over before tea and lunch is a measure of Keshav's value on a seaming surface. I think that has more to do with the way that he's been used in these games.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think there was obviously a touch of sarcasm, as Malcolm pointed out there in that state. But look, yeah, maybe this is the big series that someone new steps up. I'm hoping that it is someone like a Cal Vereno or someone new, even a new guy like Rickleton or Eve gets an opportunity. I like to see the newer guys show what they're capable of and have that one series that they step up and show the world what they're capable of. For Aiden Markram, you would say it was Australia. We're hoping that it can be for someone else here. Obviously, New Zealand. KP, it was India. So hopefully someone can step up over here, one of the new guys. But guys, thanks a lot for tuning in. Thanks a lot to DJ Verna and Malcolm for coming on the show. We were not far away from the start of this game. So get some resting, guys. The guys are going to watch all the way through until the next morning. It's myself is going to be one of those people that have to do it, because we're going to have to give you guys all the reports and stuff and keep you up to date everywhere. But just note that we will be doing our shows, our preview show and our review show at this time every single day for the entire test series. We like the fact that we can talk about the next day and as well as review the day that happened, obviously previously as well. So please stay tuned to this channel. Click subscribe to this channel as well. Click that notification bell for all future videos. Aditya, is there anything else you want to say before I do the rest of the countouts?
4 hours and 29 minutes to go. Keep at it, lads.
Yeah, well, guys, smash the like button, do all of those things, share this with all your friends and family as well. But don't forget to subscribe to Cricket Fanatics Magazine monthly. Every issue 100% free, straight to your inbox every single month, including the back issues. Link is on the screen and in the description. And you can also now become a patron. You can support us by keeping everything alive over here on our side. We are 100% bootstrapped, so it will help a lot if you guys can help us out by becoming a patron. The link is on the screen and in the description too. Guys, thanks a lot for watching. Good luck to the Proteas. And we'll see you guys again tomorrow with another preview/review show. Take care.
Cheers, guys.